Hi, today we're going to talk about Python functions. We've already seen functions and been using functions. For instance, we used the length function and it helped us find out the length of a string or a list or a tuple. Now we're going to create our own functions. And the syntax for this is using def for define, and then we'll have the name of the function and then parentheses, just like we used parentheses when we called the length function. And then just like we have a colon at the end of an if statement or a while statement or a for loop, we're going to have a colon at the end of this def for defining a function. Here I just have a comment saying what my function is going to do, and then all my function does is print one line to the screen. And then this line down here is calling that function with the name of the function and parentheses. So when I run this, we'll see the results in a second. I just have to save it. It'll say, I just wanted to say hello. In fact, we could call this function multiple times. Say hello, maybe one more time, 3 times for good measure. And then we'll run this, and we'll see it printed, I just want to say hello 3 times. It called the function 3 times. We can pass in arguments to the function. So we could pass in somebody's name and add that to what we're printing. So here, because I have something in the parentheses in the definition of the function, then when I call the function, I need to also pass something in the parentheses. So I'll say Mary and John and Robin. And if I run this function now, I just want to say hello Mary, Robin, and John, and all 3 names are printed. I called the function 3 different times with 3 different names. We can pass more than one argument. The things in parentheses are parameters or arguments, so when you're calling the function, they're called arguments, and then in the function definition it's called a parameter. So here I am going to pass in a second item to my function. It's going to be a number, and I'm going to use that number in a for loop, and I'm going to decide how many times I want to go ahead and print hello to that person. So for y in range n, so they're passing n in the parentheses, and then I just wanted to say hello. So I'm going to run this function now, and now I've got 2 arguments to the function, and I said I want to say hello to Mary 3 times. So when we run this, it prints hello to Mary 3 times. I wanted to say hello to John once, and hello to Robin 5 times. So we use that second argument to the function. Now I'm going to use a different function example for the next thing I want to talk about, and that is talking about returning values from the function. So sometimes your function returns nothing, it just does its job, and other times your function will have a return statement at the bottom, and the return statement is going to go ahead and return you could capture it in a variable. When you call a function, you're able to see what it's returning to you. So this simple function, you're passing in one thing that's a number, and you're going to, as the comment says, you're going to reverse the sign of the number by multiplying that number by -1. So if I run this function, it calls switch sign passing in -2. There aren't any print statements, but if I look at the variable y, then it's the opposite of -2. It's +2. And if I were to call this and pass in, let's do -7, maybe I'll create another call to switch sign and save the result in the variable. So I've got 1 positive and 1 negative number. And if I run this function, then, well, y is going to be 7. It's the reverse of -7. And then x is going to be -5. As we've switched the sign of -5. So that's an example of a function with a return value. Now, the name of the function was switch sign, switch_sign. And if I look, at the documentation from the command line, I could say the name of the function and a period and 2 underscores and the word doc and 2 underscores, and it would give me the documentation string word for word, whatever was in the documentation string or the comment right after the function header. So that's a way to get help on whatever your function is.